Welcome back to Bold of You to Say. We're back with another episode.
Welcome.
We're back with another episode. We bring the heat. You know how it
we
is.
Did. And
we
do
always bring,
continue to. Heat, you know,
past
energy
tense,
costs.
we brought it.
You know, don't pay a dude for natural gas or electric
little,
for heat.
Little
Just
industry
listen.
secret, we record these after we do the entire episode. So I can confidently say we did bring the heat. This week we talked about
right now. Yeah.
Target, their Pride collection drama. Corporate
getting targeted,
pride,
if you will.
Corporate LGBT pride stuff is cringy and gross and weird.
Hello,
but it's
kids.
even worse when they take the pride stuff down because a bunch of fascists were like, I don't like it, it's too woke. Also, you're doing stuff to kids, even though I know you're not, even though I know I'm lying. Whatever. Anyway, shout out Minnesota. Minnesota Democrats passed historic legislation. Just
Indeed.
Amazing, good stuff. Turns out the government can do that. Amazing stuff.
State governments can. Watch the Supreme Court just like...
Actually, it's unconstitutional to do anything good for your constituents.
You can't help people. It's not
Actually,
allowed.
you have to kill everyone that we don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Joe Biden will be like, oh, but if I pack the courts, then people won't like that. So then I'll just do nothing to stop it. What a time we live in. Anyway, we also talked about the movie Renfield. Very fun vampire movie. It's got, what's his name from The Menu. Also, he was in the X-Men prequel movies. Nicolas Cage plays a Dracula. And it's just the most fun you can
Dracula?
have. He plays a Dracula.
Like that's not,
and it's
like
the
it's an
most
affliction, not an identity.
It's the most fun you can have watching Nicolas Cage play a Dracula. We also talked about a bunch of stuff for recommendations in between segments and whatnot. Timestamps, use those if you want to skip around. Or don't, whatever, who cares. But if you want to skip a certain part, do it if you want. Whatever. You know how timestamps work. I can confidently assume that you've listened to a podcast.
Right.
I think you kind of get it. If this is your first time listening to a podcast, why us?
We're not that guy, pal.
We're not that guy.
Not that guy.
We're not that guy, pal.
We're not that guy.
We're
pal.
not that guy. I am that guy. I think I can say it. I am that guy. Anyway, let's jump into it.
Let's just jump into it.
Happy Pride Month.
Is it Pride Month now?
Do you not know when Pride Month is?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because you're way less, first of all, gay. First of all, way less gay. Second of all, you're way less culture war pilled.
What do you mean?
Like I learn about culture war issues against my will, and you seem to avoid it in a very healthy way that
like it's
I wish I could achieve.
Oh, thank you. That's the closest thing to a compliment I'll ever get from you. No, so it comes from a place of like, I understand, and I guess this might be like / woke, but like, I understand that I'm a white guy with a lot of privilege that is like baseline understandable. I understand there are people who don't have the same privileges I have. I understand I live in a society that likes to fuck with people who don't live the same way as a lot of other people, and
you understand that.
I just try to understand that.
It didn't work at first.
And I try to allow people who want to live their life the way they want to do that, because they have every right, and I support them as long as they're not hurting anyone.
I don't know. That sounds too woke. Anyway, what I'm getting at is Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month, I guess.
Yeah. It would be a Happy Pride Month if more people were like you and could just like fucking chill.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. People just gotta chill.
We need to turn down the rhetorical temperature here.
Yeah.
And not to say that that can come out wrong. Not to say that gay people need to be less gay. What I'm saying is...
No, I'm saying people that are like upset about Pride Month need to just be normal.
Like, just relax. It's I don't know what to tell you. Just
yeah, I'll introduce what's going on in the news while you get your microphone situation sorted out. It's righty tighty. You're unscrewing it. Anyway,
If you needed like physical proof that I'm literally dyslexic, that was it.
Anyway, so the reason I say people need to be normal is because I feel like I don't even want to say alt-right, because like they're just mainstream conservatives now. Like conservatives, like the conservative leaders, the people like leading
Right.
the culture war effort, seem to just pick a villain of the week. Like last week, when we recorded last episode last week, because this is a weekly show, last week it was Bud Light. And Bud Light was too woke. And there was like a conservative beer company that popped up. This grifter was like, buy my beer. It's anti-woke. I hate trans people. Buy my product. Like that was the whole thing. And now, from what I've heard, the business isn't doing that well because it's like it's out of season.
Here's the thing. I have to kind of bathe in my own chagrin here because I thought that the whole fucking what's it the Budweiser, the whole Bud Light thing would have just been like a overreaction on behalf of conservatives, and it turns out that Bud Light's stock price is actually tanking. You
might have more up-to-date information than I do. I did hear that it dipped because like the whole market is based on speculation, and people were speculating that it was going to drop, so that kind of caused it to then drop, because there was that like very vocal minority of people that were like, too woke, I'm not buying it anymore. I don't know if it's recovered since. You might have more up-to-date information on that.
Well, and that's not like I haven't looked at the stock price, but I could probably do that right now, actually.
Oh, Google it. You finish your point.
I've just seen a lot of.
Should I look up Budweiser stock or Anheuser-Busch?
But I would specifically look up Bud Light because that's the specific thing. But I think Budweiser would be feeling that just in general. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about, or I've heard a lot of people talking about how Budweiser is like losing a lot of money right now. I've only heard that, so I don't have any data to back that up.
Well, just today, it's like on the rise. Let me look over. Okay, so you can see like it just dropped suddenly. Looks like last Tuesday. Yeah, last Tuesday. It dropped like a cliff, and then it like kind of decreased, dropped again, but it's been like on the rise. Like it's been recovering. Yeah. It looks like.
But it's just sad that like, how dare you acknowledge the existence of a minority group?
Yeah.
Like that. It's just kind of sad. And that's like coming from a dude who's just like, yeah, under the First Amendment, anyone has the right to express themselves how they wish to. And I just find it really disappointing and disconcerting that so many people are reacting so strongly to something that's like not a huge deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They just gotta like just chill and be normal. I did send you a screenshot, of the stock price over the last month, and see I think you know a little bit more about just how the stock market works than I do. I'm not really in that world at all. I can just see like line goes up, that must be good. So, but like it seems to be recovering.
It's more complicated than just like looking at it and saying, "Oh, it's doing good," or "Oh, it's doing bad." Like for instance, when Twinkies, when the people who made Twinkies said they're going out of business, Twinkie stock shot up because people suddenly started buying a bunch of Twinkies. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean that that the stock for Twinkies is good. It just means that at the moment it's on the up and up. And so I think we'll see like a huge dip, and then as this kind of rolls over into like the next big thing, the next issue, it'll probably just go back to normal.
Yeah, that was my interpretation. It seems to be going back to like a normal level, because like the heat is kind of off of them now. But anyway, I bring that up to say the new villain of the week for these weird culture warriors on the right is Target. So Target every year for the past like let's say like 8 years or so, probably longer than that. But ever since they realized they could sell to gay people, they've been doing exactly that, and they have like a Pride collection. Now, for a little bit of context, and I'm planning on getting into this a little bit later, but for an introduction, up until these very recent events, any store's Pride collection, especially like Target or like Walmart, these big companies, their Pride collection has been the laughing stock of the LGBT community.
Well, also they're the same, like those are the same places where they were selling like Trump shirts. So like,
right. Yeah. They'll sell to whoever they think they can sell to.
I think they have a really good idea of what their clientele are, of who their clientele are.
Yeah. But yeah, like Pride collections, these corporate Pride collections have a reputation for just being really cringy, really pandery, and just kind of like it's giving like straight ally that wants to seem cool. You know, like that's the kind of vibe that it gives.
It's almost like white knighting a little bit. Like,
yeah, like they're trying too hard to like seem accepting, and it just kind of like it feels like these Pride collections sometimes feel homophobic in their own way.
I mean, it almost seems like they're trying to sell to the gay stereotype.
Right. Yeah, they're pandering. That's I think that's a good way of putting it. They're trying to sell to a stereotype.
And like the like overly flamboyant like homosexual, right?
Yeah, it's like they just saw Will and Grace and were like, that's the entirety of the gay community. Right.
I just wish I think we'll see a time, I at least hope we'll see a time where I wouldn't say we don't celebrate like gay pride, but in a sense that like,
well, like we don't want to have to need it.
Right. Yeah, kind of like we shouldn't have to need this.
Right. Like we don't, I feel like we no longer have like a need for like, well, I was going to say we don't need like an Irish Pride Month. I guess we kind of have like St. Patrick's Day. Like that's kind of like that in a way, but it's not at all
Americans
the same
just
thing.
Use that as an excuse to drink.
Right. But there's not a need for like an actual like culturally significant Irish Pride Month in the United States because the Irish are just white now. And
right.
like,
I mean, also like
they're fine. Like as an ethnic group, the Irish and like Italians are just fine. Now the way that they got there was just by being folded in with like the dominant like, you know, racial group.
Right.
You know, and the whole system is bad, but them individually like they're fine now, so we don't need that. Yeah, right. like you're saying, it would be nice to be in that position with like, you know, the LGBTQ plus community.
And I also wish there was like a market that was less predicated on the fact that they serve LGBTQ people, but based on the fact that their product attracts a lot of LGBTQ people. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you're kind of putting the cart before the horse by saying like, you know, this is a gay product. Buy this if you're gay.
Right.
Like just make something that gay people want to have.
Right. Just and that takes investment though, right? Like you can't. It's not enough.
Also, you have to care.
Pander.
Right.
You have to care and also invest in people who are a part of this culture.
Yeah, like it takes effort to like do that kind of, you know, demographic research.
Mm-hmm.
But no. So this year it's different because the right has just gotten so like just extreme, but just more so weird. They've gotten weird in the past few years. So now they're like just making stuff up to get mad at. And like conservatives have done that for a while. They'll make their own boogeyman to get mad at and then get outraged over it.
But beyond that, like even when you confront them with like data and facts, they seem to just be like making up things to make up for their logical fallacies, like just making up fake shit to be like, well, no, it's actually the same as this when it's not at all.
Yeah. So what's going on with Target this year, I'll just get to it, is they're mad at the Pride collection because they think that they're targeting children and they're trying to sell like the outrage that they have is on the level of if they tried to sell sex toys to children. What they're mad at specifically, what started this, is a conservative grifter. I don't know who it was, and I don't want to really like shout them out. So we'll just say a conservative influencer went into a Target, grabbed a swimsuit, a one-piece bathing suit, designed for trans women to use, and it has a little tag on it that says like, tuck-friendly design. Because if you're a trans woman, you don't want your like bulge sticking out, right? That's kind of like part of the whole thing. So I think it's good that there are products like that now for trans women to use to just kind of, I don't want to say blend in, but just like, feel better.
Like they want to
live like they want to live, not stick out and be a target for bullying.
The only one who's making this at all sexual is the right.
Yeah, and I cannot stress this enough. Feel free to fact check me on this, listener, if you don't believe me. But they don't make that swimsuit for children. They don't make it in children's sizes. It's only adult sizes.
Didn't that guy take it from the adult section and bring it to the children's section?
Yeah, that's what happened.
This is what I mean by the right making up bullshit just to make a point.
Right.
It's
and
I will literally not selling that to children. It's literally a guy, a grifter dude who's trying to make a political point.
Exactly.
And falsely stating a point in that.
Yeah. And like these other segments that we do, these more, news centric, current event centric stories, I will have my sources linked in the description so you can look at the articles that I used to, type up the outline. But I will mention this one from AP News. Target's Pride collection features quote unquote tuck friendly swimsuits for adults, not kids. That goes into more detail and has receipts showing, it's just for adults, not children. But yeah, so the whole basis of this culture war outrage is just made up. They're just making stuff up. And like people, conservative, like wannabe influencers have started. It's like a trend now. They'll go into a Target and just embarrass themselves on camera.
Right. And the sad thing is too, like what I'm seeing a lot on YouTube Shorts. And by the way, I also want to mention as an aside, YouTube is now allowing election denialism back on their platform.
Awesome. Remember when we got in trouble for election denial?
Yeah, what were we talking about? Like the fact that it was King Charles. It was King Charles getting in.
I'm like 80% sure it was election denial
elected.
Stuff. Right.
He's not even elected, motherfucker.
Yeah. I think what it was is we were talking about
his name was on it.
We were talking about how Trump denied the election, and we were like, "That's stupid and dumb." And YouTube was like, "You guys talked about the election."
That's great.
So now they're just like, "Actually, we don't even know." They're like, "Who's to say?" Really, that depends on what your definition of the word is.
Right. But what I found really disconcerting and really sad is, you've mentioned like they're going into Target and basically embarrassing themselves.
Yeah, they're like
on YouTube.
They're grooming kids. They're woke.
Well,
they're doing
on
woke.
YouTube now. There's a massive amount of people who are trying to legitimize that. And it's just really, it's like sad and disconcerting, and it makes me just want to like not use YouTube at all.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to be like, to be platforming people who are allowed to say what they want, but are saying something that's grotesque and awful. It's another thing to actively allow people to lie about elections.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
While there's another election going on. It's just, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, this is a total sidebar, but like it kind of, you can interpret that as like, that's kind of why we need more democratic control over like these companies where a lot of their product is information. Well, like what I mean specifically is like these companies that operate privately for profit, they have algorithms that curate content, and they're going to curate it in whatever way makes that company the most money. I don't know what form it would take,
Right, well,
but there's an argument to be made for more democratic control over how those sites function.
I don't think it even needs to be like a political, like through a political lens. So for instance, there are laws regarding journalism where if you are openly lying and you know that you are lying, you legally have to like let people know that you knew you were lying, and you need to like clarify your statements and correct what you said that was wrong. So if people are going to be on YouTube spreading literally fake information about elections, and they're being platformed, and by the way, they're doing this as though it is news, as though they are telling a factual news article, I feel that YouTube, being an organization that is platforming them, should fall under the same rules that normal journalists fall under. So if people on their platform are pretending to be news and saying fake things, they need to be held to the same journalistic standards.
Yeah.
Either fix what you said and take it back because we can prove that it is factually incorrect what you said, or we are going to we're gonna delete your account, or we're gonna put it on fucking, what's it called? They lock you out of your account or something.
Get like terminated. You can get like a strike.
Oh, there's a specific word though. I forget what I'm blanking on it, but it doesn't even have to be a political thing.
Yeah.
It can just be like there are rules here when it comes to spreading news.
Yeah.
And information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just kind of a natural consequence of these companies not being all that regulated. And like when you bring up the idea of like maybe we should enforce, like you said, these like journalistic standards on these platforms, then like people act like you're saying that we should literally do 1984.
And like that's the thing, who gets to decide what the truth is? And that's why I like the kind of third party standing of journalism as it is. Because on one hand you cannot restrict their speech, but on the other hand you can force them to correct something that is factually incorrect.
Yeah, that's why I say I don't know what form it would take, because like I could very easily see it slipping into like just Ministry of Truth territory, but I digress. So anyway, yeah, people are going to Target, embarrassing themselves, just being weird, just like making a public nuisance of themselves, being like they're grooming, they're doing woke and they're grooming, and everyone's just like, fuck, I'm just trying to like buy a t-shirt, And
I mean, it is kind of with some lens, it is kind of relieving to see that the right is being somewhat distracted by this talking point of woke, because while they're doing that, at least Democrats are getting their ducks in a row for good legislation.
Yeah,
and
which we will get to. Shout out Minnesota.
But also, I do think that this debt ceiling thing, given the circumstances, the Biden administration handled it very well.
Yeah. Without getting too far into it, I do think they capitulated too much in just negotiating at all, because it sets a bad precedent.
So I hear what you mean completely by that, because I'm kind of in the same position of like, what happens after 2 years? Because the deal was you get 2 years of no debt ceiling issues, right? Mm-hmm. So into the next administration, whatever that may be. And I'm on your side when I'm like, what happens when we get to that point again and someone wants to weaponize the debt ceiling once again?
Yeah.
At the same time, you have to weigh the circumstances, which is that regardless, these are our circumstances. Either we negotiate or we default. I like what the Biden administration did at first by saying, we're just not going to debate this. This is not something up for debate.
Yeah.
Which instantly puts the responsibility on the Republican side to set the table, right? So to speak.
Yeah.
and try to get someone to negotiate. And then finally, when the Biden administration decided to negotiate, I feel like they did a really great job at saying, these are our baselines. This is where we're not going to negotiate past when it comes to cuts. This is what we're just not going to entertain. And regardless, the heat is still on you because you're the one holding this hostage.
Yeah. I again, I'm not like a constitutional lawyer, so I can't really personally go too in depth on this, but I have like heard a lot of commentators talking about like Biden could have invoked the 14th Amendment, which has a specific provision that's something along the lines of like, in order to basically function as a nation, the ability of the United States government to pay back its debts shall not be questioned. And that was put in specifically to stop former Confederate states from doing what's happening now and holding our economy hostage.
Right.
So I don't know what exactly the move would be. I don't know if there's like, you know, a textbook to consult on a thing like this, but you know, I imagine they could do something along the lines of like invoke the 14th Amendment, and through something, executive order, whatever, just be like, no more debt ceiling, or we raise the debt ceiling $10 trillion and it's not an issue anymore. And I think it would be mutually beneficial because the Biden administration gets the win. You know, they get to get rid of this whole ticking time bomb, and McCarthy gets to like he gets to not lose, you know, because like if he like just does the clean debt ceiling raise, he's out of the job. But if he can go back to the Republicans and be like, hey, you know, I did what I could, but you know, you can't really go against the Constitution, then he has a stronger chance of keeping his job.
That's the thing, though. It's not and this is what I've heard from people who were a part of the Republican establishment back in 2008. So like Paul Ryan, John Boehner, when they talk about the current Republican Party in Congress, all they can really say is that like these are a bunch of representatives that don't believe in anything. They just believe in kind of like owning the left,
right?
Which is very scary and very detrimental. So in terms of McCarthy going to them and saying, well, I did what the Constitution said I could try to do, or the president's doing what the Constitution says he can do, they don't care.
Right, but that's like way out of McCarthy's control. So that's why I say they could just boot him out just out of retaliation.
One other point.
But that's why I say he has a stronger chance of keeping his job. They could still just kick him out just because they feel like it. I don't know.
But in terms of one other point I wanted to make in terms of possible precedent damage, right? That can be done versus with this debt ceiling thing versus Biden using the 14th Amendment. I would consider Biden using the 14th Amendment as being like a rhetorical canon to the debt ceiling being raised version of being like a trebuchet in terms of what damage can be done. Does that make any sense? I had it better. I don't know what
that means.
Let me rephrase this. Let me try this again. So, if Biden were to have invoked the 14th Amendment, that would have potentially thrown us into a whole constitutional crisis of, well, can the president do this? And then that would have thrown it to the courts, and then they would do their thing, and it may ultimately come to nothing, or to the detriment of Biden if they would have ruled like, oh, he can't do that. I think that this debt ceiling deal was good because
I will counter that with Joe Biden could sneeze and it would cause a constitutional crisis under these current conditions with the way that Republicans are. So might as well try to get something good out of
crisis. It's like if Biden were to just say no more debt limit, there would be a large amount of Congress, like a very sizable amount of Congress, just being like, can he even do that? And then,
I mean, it seems like it's pretty clear in the text and in the spirit of that provision in the amendment that he can do that. And like the way that I see it playing out, at least, is, you know, they take it to the courts, they take it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they're like, oh, we're not gonna side with you, Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden's like, oh yeah, well, I'm Dark Brandon, I'll just pack the courts. Which has been done before.
FDR
like
did that.
FDR was like, hey, we're going to do the New Deal. And then the Supreme Court was like, no, I hate you and every American. And then he was
let
like,
me
okay,
let me
I'm
put
gonna
it
pack
this
the
way.
courts.
I think I have a better turn of phrase for
And
this.
that's exactly how it went down.
I think I have a better turn of phrase for this. So if this debt ceiling passed in terms of precedent, and in terms of damage to legal precedent, if that was like a trebuchet, Biden invoking the 14th Amendment and causing a constitutional crisis would be like a cannon. Does that make sense?
No, I don't know what you're saying. Anyway,
I'm
that's
trying
all
to-
to say. That's all to say. Target people are going to Target and they're being like, they're doing woke. They're doing woke. So the next plot point is conservatives. A lot of them are just being embarrassing, but some of them are like actually getting violent with it. I don't think they've actually done like abnormal levels of violence in any Target locations to my knowledge, but I've heard that they like a few of them did like bomb threats or like threatened to like, I don't know, like shoot them up or something.
Well,
the point is they threatened to like do violence in Target locations.
Mhm.
And so that has led to actually why this is a story that we're covering. Target has pulled some of their Pride collection in the wake of that. You were gonna say something?
I just find it ironic that especially the religious right, who are against this perceived danger to kids, are still unwilling to clean up their own fucking house when it comes to child sex trafficking in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Or in the churches in general.
Or just like amongst their elected representatives.
Less with that, but more with like the only reason I say this is because they hold the church as being like this spire of moral right and duty.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, kids are like at a very high rate being like molested by priests.
Yeah.
And it's basically like a child sex ring, and it's not good.
No, yeah, it does make it worse that they're like they act like they're better than you for being a part of that church that is just a pedophile ring.
Well, listen, if we're going to talk about protecting kids, like, let's start with that.
Right. Well, I just think it's funny that, like, Matt Gaetz is one of these, like, anti-groomer people. Matt Gaetz, famous for trafficking a minor across state lines to have sex with.
Yeah.
No, he's like, they're woke and they're grooming.
What did you do, Matt Gaetz?
Right.
Like,
no, it's because he hates trans people. That makes it okay. Target pulled a portion of their Pride collection. It wouldn't be such a big deal, to me at least, but I just, like with the debt ceiling thing, I don't like the precedent that it sets, because it just tells these right-wing weirdos that they can make a big enough fuss and these corporations will just capitulate. They'll just bend the knee to them. And like, it's not
big corporations. What do you mean by that?
Okay, like Target, like all these companies like that are on like the Pride bandwagon. It sets a precedent. It sets the trend that
the debt ceiling thing.
No, I was just saying with the debt ceiling thing, like like what we were saying with like compromising, like it sets a bad precedent.
Oh, so and
I would agree
with you.
What I didn't like was the precedent with that.
Right, and I would agree with you if the debt ceiling wasn't a procedure of government.
Yeah.
With huge ramifications, and it's really I agree with you that
Target.
The precedent that but I in terms of people being all angry about like trans stuff, people are allowed to be angry about whatever they're going to be angry about. It's just that is going to be completely fruitless.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is to finish my point, I don't like the precedent that it sets, because it sets the precedent that if these people make a big enough fuss, then these corporations will just bend the knee and be like, okay, we hate gay people actually. And it just like, where does it end? Because like they're just doing like they're lashing out, they're whining. That's really what it is. They're whining, and so they're like, okay, we're not going to do pride stuff anymore.
I guess what I don't understand with what you're saying is where the trans issues feed into the debt ceiling issues.
The only link there was I just didn't like the precedent that was set.
Okay.
Okay, are we off the debt ceiling thing now?
Well, yeah, okay, yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make is I don't like
stupid.
the precedent that is set. I just think it sets a bad cultural trend, because beyond the corporations, like it's cringy, the Pride collection, right? But at least like it sets a trend, like it sets the tone for like the national conversation around Pride. Like it just normalizes it, you know, you get these like boomer ladies that are like, that, maybe 30 years ago would have been like, oh, you're gay, I'll pray for you. Now they're like buying rainbow shirts.
Right.
It's kind of, it's not a huge deal on the surface, but, combined with everything else, like it's a culturally good thing to have these Pride collections and corporations being on board with Pride. It is very cynical, their motivations to be on board with it, because they're just trying to make money. But it does have the good outcome of setting the cultural tone. And it just completely reverses that when they decide to pull the collection because a very vocal minority just got upset about it. And keep in mind, just like the Anheuser-Busch thing, just like with Bud Light, it's not going to last. It's like they're going to be on it for like maybe a couple more weeks, and then they're going to move on to something else. Target will be out of their crosshairs. So just kind of weather the storm. And like one of my takeaways, one of my takes with this situation is, if they can stop shoplifting, if they can put time and money and effort into programs and like methods to stop shoplifting, they can just stop people from doing what they're threatening to do at these stores. If you get a threat, report it. Just do what any other place would do in face of a threat of violence. Up security instead of pulling your collection. It's like I said on the phone the other day when we were talking about this. The only reason they decided to pull the collection is because it was probably slightly cheaper than upping security.
Right.
So
but I think they're also, to an extent, worrying about, like, they probably saw what happened with Bud Light, and they were also kind of concerned about shareholdings, and I wouldn't doubt that there was a portion of that was linked to the market and them not wanting to follow the same trend.
Yeah, that definitely plays into it too. But I still don't think it excuses it. Like, it's a reason to do it, but it's not an excuse, Like, it doesn't make it right.
Right.
Just makes it logical.
Yeah, but at least I know that the hatred isn't there. Just the understanding that it's not from a place of like, oh, we don't like you. It's just coming from a place of like pragmatism.
They don't hate gay people any more than they hate their other customers.
Right.
But yeah, I just think it only serves to embolden these fascist goons. I think it just beyond the cultural tone and everything, like beyond that, it just makes them feel stronger. It makes them feel like, oh, if I make a big enough fuss, then I'll get my way. I'll do more violence. I'll do more threats of violence. I'll be more annoying. And I don't like the idea of messaging, of sending, the message to these people that they can continue behaving in this unacceptable way.
Right. I think, like, on a larger scale, I think that if the right is looking for a victim or looking to create a victim, they'll have to create one.
What do you mean?
And so,
what do you mean by a victim?
I think if they're trying to look for people who are being harmed by the LGBTQ, whatever. If they're looking for victims, they're gonna have to create one themselves. And when that
Well,
happens,
yeah, that's actually that reminds me. People are doing like just groomer shit. You know, like wearing like a thong in front of a kid and being like, "This is what gay people do." No, it's what you're doing right now.
you're doing that right now. So, I would say to people who are part of the LGBTQ community to keep doing the right thing as you're currently doing. Keep your wits about you and make sure to be writing things down and keeping a record of who did what and when, because the second the right decides to make a victim is the second they've lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think the best way to handle like someone going into public and being like, they're doing grooming. Look at this person. This gay person is doing grooming because they're gay. The best way to handle that, in my opinion, is to just be chill and cool about it, because you're not trying to win over the person calling you a groomer. You're trying to win over the people watching that person call you a groomer. If you can make that person look as ridiculous as possible and make yourself look like the reasonable one, you've won. You've won that interaction.
I can't wait until a bunch of people who are confused about like the definition of woke are also confused about the definition of grooming, and they go to a veterinarian's, like a fucking like a dog grooming.
Get away from my dog.
Place. Get away from my dog! Stop grooming my dog! I don't stand with the LGBTQ community. Just like, you understand, we're cutting your dog's hair, right?
Pubic hair, so you can have sex with it. Groomer. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'll end with 2 more points. First, I think I touched on this, but I did write this note down so I can remember to touch on it. The whole situation just proves that rainbow capitalism, companies that are like, oh, we love gay people so much, buy our product. Rainbow capitalism is hollow and meaningless. This kind of just illustrates that. And what I'll leave you on is this side note. Why is it that the quote unquote anti-groomer conservatives want biological males to not tuck away their dick and balls? No, you got to keep your cock and balls out, or else you're grooming my kid.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they want people to tuck their dick and balls so as to not expose them to children?
It's actually kind of funny because Congresswoman Boebert talks about how, we need to protect these kids, and her husband got arrested for indecent exposure in front of an elementary school.
The first thing that I thought of when you brought her up wasn't that particular story. It was, do you know how they met?
Wasn't okay. She was an escort, and
that's not the story that I heard.
Okay.
I
but that has yet to be verified.
Maybe I'm wrong. We're both just going off of what we remember. But the story that I remember hearing is that she was like 17. You know what I mean? The Beatles.
And the way she looked was very Bianca.
Yeah. And she was like bowling or something with friends. And the man she would end up marrying, who was like, I want to say like in his 20s, like flashed her and possibly her friends. But that's how they met.
With his penis?
Yeah. I'm going to Google this.
And it worked.
Just apparently. Hold on. Oh, they're getting divorced.
What?
I'm not using okay. Insider is mad at me for using an ad blocker. I do not have an ad blocker. Is it because I have my VPN turned on? Okay, well, I can see a little bit of the article. It says circa 2003, Lauren Robert. No, it is Lauren Boebert. It says Lauren Roberts and because his last name. The names are similar enough that I was like, is that not her name? Yeah. Lauren Boebert and Jason Boebert met at Burger King when she was 16 and he was 22. Still creepy. I don't know if the exposure thing is. All right, how about we got this covered? Famously reputable news site, we got this covered. Who is Representative Lauren Boebert's husband? Jason Boebert and his jail time explained.
Yeah.
Absolute side tangent. I'm trying to see if I can find.
Also the Democrats said Anthony Weiner, but that was before all this became.
By
This
the
is
way,
before
Anthony
the
Weiner,
right-
great name for a guy with a scandal of his nature.
I mean, yeah. I've seen the videos of him going for re-election and like the day day of the election, like more photos of him were leaked, and he was trying to like salvage what little base he still had left, and everyone was just like, "No, we're dropping you."
Yeah. Anyway, from We Got This Covered, I saw a bit about how he exposed himself at a bowling alley to two women. Says one of whom was a minor, exposed his penis to them. I don't think Lauren Boebert was one of them. Complete unrelated side tangent. Anyway, don't know how they met. Don't care to look into it any further. Anyway,
Fair.
Minnesota. Shout out Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah. So again,
Man,
all of
I was disappointed that they weren't the inventors of small soda cans.
small
However,
cans.
right. But what they did what they did recently, I'd say is a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. This they kind of did what you would expect progressive lawmakers to do. It's what they did, what you would expect the quote unquote left party to do. And the fact that they did it is like national news, and it's like historic.
And also,
Kind of says a lot about where we are politically, but no, they did do a lot of good legislation.
They may prove to be an interesting contrast to states who are leaning heavily conservative now.
Yeah, people talk about polarizing, like polarization, like it's a bad thing, but if it results in stuff like this,
like
polarization is bad when it happens to the right, but when it happens to the left, you live a noticeably better life.
Sure.
So I just want to go through kind of a bullet point list of what they did. I don't plan on going as far, in depth for this segment. I just want to highlight the great things that they have done with a 1-seat majority, by the way, with a 1-seat majority in their state house. Incredible. All of this. So they expanded voter rights. So you are automatically pre-registered. So like when you're like basically the outcome is when you turn 18, you can vote. If you turn 18 on election day, you can go vote. You're already registered. It's already taken care of. You don't have to do any paperwork. That's just how it should be, in my opinion. They passed some gun control measures. So let me just pull up the list, actually, the article, so I can get the best, accurate information. But they passed the red flag laws and universal background checks. Two very popular policy choices. Two very
what was
popular
that one
things.
About driver's licenses for people?
So that's further down the list. So yeah, driver's licenses for all. That basically made it so if you're an undocumented immigrant, you can get a driver's license and it doesn't denote your immigration status, and there's just no red tape to get it.
And that's really good because it's really it will really give a great peace of mind to all the illegal Canadians who are in Minnesota right now.
Exactly.
All the illegal Canadians who illegally crossed the American-Canadian border.
Yeah. Well, undocumented immigrants are here. They're gonna be here. Outside of horrific genocide, you can't get rid of them. So you might as well just let them live here and just be peaceful if they're gonna be peaceful. If they do crimes, they'll get caught and they'll get in trouble for their crimes just like anyone else. But if they're just chilling here, we might as well let them just get driver's licenses and not hassle them.
I will say though, this is my only hot take on this. I will agree that it is illegal to be in the United States without going through the proper channels.
Yeah.
So to an extent, I understand when people are like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But at the same time, we're a first world nation, and we should be compassionate towards
Also,
people
how was this
who-
country founded?
Right, but I know, but since its founding, we've made rules with regards to immigration.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, just if you want to look at it pragmatically, we need immigrants. We need undocumented immigrants.
exactly. And that's why I think we should, if we're going to handle this like illegal immigration problem, for those who of you who can't see me, I'm doing air quotes because I think to a large extent it's not as big as a problem as people make it out to be.
Yeah.
We need to handle it in a way that is becoming of a first world nation.
Right.
Yeah,
as it is, we make it way too hard to immigrate into this country.
Right. But if we're going to be like kicking people out, we need to make sure that they're going to be okay because we're a first world nation.
Yeah, we're the
Like-
richest country on earth. We can spare a few bucks to make people's lives better.
Right.
And not be harmful. Anyway, speaking of that, they're now a trans refuge state, so they've passed protections for transgender people, and more importantly, they also made it so. Sorry, I'm just reading something. Yeah, sorry. They also made it so if another state passes a law that's like, hey, you can't do gender affirming care, and you're not allowed to do it in other states either. Like some states have, I believe Texas has something like that.
Minnesota is going to be like, watch me.
Yeah, well, Minnesota made it so these states can't extradite them. They can't, subpoena them. They can't do anything to prosecute them or bring them back to their home state if they're in Minnesota.
Right.
Yeah. And I believe just from skimming this section of the article, it applies to minors, which is very important.
Very important, especially for coal miners and people who
Yep.
are mining for
Yep.
copper and iron.
Yep. They also made it illegal to get black lung. So no more black lung.
Yeah.
They also legalized weed. Straight up just a good thing.
I'm happy that's just like and let's throw that in too.
It's
While we're at it.
I think about it sometimes because like I live in Ann Arbor, the capital of weed, like I live in a white people drug capital of the world. Like weed is legal, like in the whole state, but it's popular here. And shrooms are decriminalized. So like we're a bit more progressive on drugs and stuff, and it's just kind of normalized. Like there's billboards and shit all across the state. There's billboards for weed. It's just become so normal that like I get freaked out when I think about how illegal it was in the past and still is in a lot of the country. Right. I'm like, Jesus.
And for no good reason.
Yeah. I'm like,
and for no good reason at all.
Jesus Christ.
And if you were to consider it's a Schedule 1 narcotic.
Yeah,
which
up there with like
implies-
coke and heroin.
Right, but on top of that, there's also an implication for Schedule 1 drugs that they have no medical uses, which is just inherently and intellectually untrue for marijuana.
Yeah, that's very verifiably false.
There are many stories of people who were going through chemotherapy who were able to keep their body weight up by using marijuana.
Yeah.
Which I would say is a good thing.
Yeah. Helping people through chemo is a good thing, and it just makes sense. If we're the land of the free, you should be able to smoke as much weed as you want,
and without harsh or life-threatening side effects.
Yeah, no, it's one of the safer drugs. Like it's safer than alcohol because alcohol is literally poison.
It is literally poison.
It's literally that is what scientifically speaking, that is what it is.
The feeling of being drunk, beyond just being a chemical reaction in your head, is also a reaction to being poisoned.
Yeah. Anyway, I will finish that section. By the way, it says a 10% sales tax on cannabis products. In addition to the 6.875% sales tax. I don't like that part of legalization. I mean, if it goes to something important and relevant,
if it's going to public schools, whatever. I'm for it.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. But if it's just like a tax because you're having fun, I don't like that. But whatever, not a big deal. Still a good thing that it's legalized. But I want to finish that with this sentence from the article, by the way, from Minnesota, St. Paul, mspmag.com. Where was it? Oh, yeah. The law automatically clears marijuana-related misdemeanors and sets up provisions to expunge marijuana-related felonies. Just a good thing. Just a very good thing that will drastically improve many, many lives. They also passed free college. So this is kind of a one-up on the student debt relief that may or may not happen. Seems to be just really up in the air at this point. But the article says Minnesota passed a higher education spending bill that grants free college tuition to some. For families that make under $80,000 annually, state college will become free. And it just exists to cover anything that FAFSA, existing financial aid, doesn't cover. So effectively free college if you go to a state university. Incredible. Just good. Will drastically improve many lives.
That is good.
They also passed child tax credits and rebates. So I didn't mention yet, but the reason that they were able to spend so much on some of these new laws and these new policies is because they had a $17.5 billion budget surplus. So part of their spending for this budget cycle is they're just giving people money. It says single tax filers making up to $75,000 will receive a payment of $260, while joint filers making up to $150,000 will get $520. And then it says at one point these have been affectionately nicknamed Waltz checks. I guess after the governor. It says for family is a child tax credit of up to $1,750 per child, maybe around the corner. So just good stuff. Giving people money to take care of their kids is just a good thing. It will just be a good thing for those families, especially for those kids.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking
100%.
of just being good for kids, they also passed free school meals. So if you go to public school, you just get your meals there for free.
You see, and that's where I deviate. So, I've always said, fuck them kids.
Right. Yeah, we should let them starve just so they get that fighting spirit.
Pro-capitalism, and that just screams, communism to me.
It's actually woke.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. But no, it's good. I've said this before. Universal programs are better for a variety of reasons. Most relevantly here is you don't get the free lunch stigma. Because if you get free or reduced school lunch, you're just known as a poor kid.
Yeah.
And I think it's bad to give children an economic reputation at the age of 6. And then the driver's licenses for all thing, we went over that. Clean Energy 2040. So that one, their Minnesota utilities will be required to provide customers with carbon-free energy. And the goal is to be 100% transitioned by 2040. Like I said before, when we talked about this privately, kind of too little too late when you're talking about the climate crisis, but still a good step.
Right.
And then the last thing is the Crown Act. This is an important law that I think people generally overlook the need for. So this one prohibits discrimination against natural hair. I'll read a bit from the article. Black Minnesotans reported discrimination in schools and workplaces because of their hair, and through race-based discrimination. And though race-based discrimination is already prohibited, lawmakers felt the language needed to be more clear. The bill passed with broad bipartisan support, with 45 to 19 in the Senate and 11 to 19 in the House. Fuck those 19 people in the Senate and in the House. It's more intelligent, more involved people than I have talked extensively about this, but Yeah, like it's illegal on paper to be like, oh, I won't hire black people, but you can discriminate in your hiring based on people's hair. Like if someone won't wear their hair a certain way that the job requires, then you can just not hire them or you can fire them. And those standards are often set with white people in mind. And it just becomes racism by a different means. So, shout out Minnesota. I will briefly touch on one law that they attempted to pass, but didn't end up going through. So they wanted to make Uber and Lyft pay a living wage. And then Uber lobbied the governor to veto the bill. They said that it would be too expensive for them, and then they would have to leave the state. Which I saw this argument and I kind of jive with it. It might be a good sign for people in that fight, since it means that they would rather lobby for the bill to not pass than have the bill pass and leave the state. I think it shows that it isn't financially viable for them to pull out of the entire state of Minnesota. Right. If this were to happen again, but with more states, forming a coalition to say, Uber, Lyft, all these, these gig apps, pay your workers well, or else fucking leave. If you get a big enough number of states on board, you can just force their hand. Because what are they going to do? Pull out of like a third of the union?
Right. That's happened before, and
right. Well, these companies wouldn't survive if they had to like not operate in that big of a portion of the country.
Right.
And that portion will get smaller as more states adopt those standards.
But also, like, public transportation in terms of efficiency is just so much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that is kind of like the more, like, I don't, like, it's just, I don't know how to express it, but it's just better to have better public transportation. It's better to focus on that than this. This is a good step. This is definitely something good to have alongside more robust public transit. But yeah, if we're going to have apps like Uber and Lyft, we might as well make sure that the people working for them are being compensated fairly for their labor, because it's very hard to make money as an Uber driver. Like, a lot of times you just end up losing money. It's a very tough job.
Same with DoorDash.
Yeah, these apps make a lot of money off of these people and don't compensate them fairly. But anyway, yeah, it might be, depending on your interpretation of events, it might be that this threat from Uber, them saying that, oh, it'll be too expensive, we might pull out, seems like an empty threat.
Yeah,
it seems like they just
called them.
Yeah, it seems like they just wanted to avoid paying their workers more, and so they just lied and said that it wouldn't be financially viable for them. But anyway, to wrap this up, I am very impressed by this legislative session. Just wonderful stuff. Turns out the government can do good things. Turns out Democrats can do good things for their constituents. Again, this was all passed with a single seat majority in the House. They had a stronger majority in the Senate, and obviously they had the governorship. But you're only as strong as your weakest link, and their weakest link was a single seat majority in the House. It just kind of makes national Democrats look completely neutered. Just makes them look so ridiculously weak in comparison. Because every time you're like, hey, can we have one good thing? Like, it would take years to fight for one of these things to even be like just considered by the national Democrats. And they always go to like, oh, we don't have the votes, this and that. And it's like, well, it turns out even when you're in a tough spot, you can get historically good things passed. And your takeaway as an individual listener, I believe, should be, demand more from your representatives.
Call them.
If they can do good things and they don't, demand more of them. If you, whatever form that takes, I don't know, protesting, whatever, speaking at a town hall, vote, but demand more from people that you vote for.
Right.
Anyway, we watched a movie this week. How far in are we?
We totally watched.
Oh, we're doing good, actually. We're doing good on time.
Yeah. Cool. We watched Renfield.
Yeah. So, Gavin, what did you think of this? What did you think?
I thought it was a really fun movie.
I love this so much.
It's really fun to watch Nicolas Cage do a role that very much seems like tailored for him.
Oh, for sure.
Right. It's so cool to it's so fun to see.
I love watching Nicolas Cage be a Dracula.
Right. It's just like it fits him so well. Dare I say he may even make a good Count Dooku.
Look, I don't know. I don't know how much overlap there is in those characters, but I would definitely love to see more Nicolas Cage Dracula. I will say
Same.
He just chews the scenery in every scene he's in. Like
right.
he
I also
is
really like
swinging that dick around.
Right.
Metaphorically speaking.
In terms of plot, I really liked the really vivid and kind of drawn out characterization of what abuse looks like.
Oh yeah, no, it's a really good exploration of abuse and surviving abuse.
Right.
And just the journey growing past what you've gone through and coming out better for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good exploration of that. The effects, the makeup and everything, just amazing stuff. It looked like it was all the Dracula stuff, when he was all decrepit and corpsey. Mm-hmm. Looked like that was all practical. Looked like it was all makeup. That looked incredible.
It looked really well. I really liked the very subtle amounts of CGI in this as well.
Very tasteful.
There was a really good scene where he's still a little torn up and he's talking to Renfield about his plans to take over the world or whatever. And he's sipping on some blood. And throughout the conversation, you see him actually heal more because of the blood that he's drinking.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought that was such a great, not only that, but he was also he continued to talk more clearly the more blood he drank.
Yeah, I don't think I caught that the first time, but yeah, that's the attention to detail there is great.
Right. And I think it's because Nicolas Cage is a nerd for comics and Dracula stuff. And so I think I wouldn't put it past it that maybe he was this is what we need to show.
Yeah.
For continuity's sake, right? This is what we need to show how Dracula reacts to the outside world.
Yeah, I would expect him to pull out medical graphs for how a Dracula would be, actually at this stage of healing, he would look like this. Just pull out a chart.
Right.
This is actually you would drink the blood and then you would get more healed and he would actually talk more clearly if you didn't know.
Yeah. I like how they really made a distinction between he can't just have any blood, he has to have innocent blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that he can just you can just kill a couple gangsters and bring them home. He has to have someone who is a good person.
Right. Well, yeah, the reason for that is they wanted it to be a certain kind of movie. They kind of have it at first be so Renfield is sort of an anti-hero. He kills people, but he kills bad guys. And they could have taken the movie in that direction, and it would have been probably a fun action adventure kind of thing. But they needed him to have a reason to have Dracula force him to go after innocent people and for him to break away. And it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel contrived, the whole he needs innocent blood thing. So kudos for that. If it was a worse writer, they could easily fumble that. Be actually Renfield has to not be a cool anti-hero for reasons.
I also like how, and I'm not a Dracula I'm not knowledgeable about Dracula stuff. But I liked how Renfield had to eat bugs to tap into his power.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was something that was in the OG thing.
Probably.
but I really like that, and I also really like that one scene where he's fighting one of the main gangsters who's like trying to become the new familiar
Oh yeah.
for Dracula, and they're fighting, and all he needs is to like wait for him to have one like slip up so that he can fucking kick him, and he like at the last second eats the bug and kicks him, and it just
So
shows
cool.
like, and then all of his guts turned into liquid because Renfield just completely destroyed him.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. Also, I liked how even though like, because I think the entire like gang was familiarized per se, and so I think they all had the powers and stuff, and I like how it, even though they have powers, it doesn't make them like immortal. Like they're
Right.
still susceptible to guns. You can still kill them.
Yeah,
They just
like,
have these like crazy powers.
yeah, and it makes sense in universe because no way Dracula would make people more powerful than he is.
Right.
And he's clearly
exactly.
vulnerable to some things. I like
Well,
the
and one
idea.
interesting.
I like the idea that Dracula like inducts Renfield, and he's like, "You're my familiar now, and you got to eat bugs to get your power." And Renfield's like, "Sorry, I have to eat bugs. Can
also,
I?
I'm gonna take the national debt hostage so that I can get things passed.
Yeah, can I
cut
have
budget.
like, can I have any other kind of like animal or anything? You know, any other living thing, any other food?" He's like, "No, it has to be bugs."
No.
For
Has to
because and Renfield just takes him at his word. But he could just
Right.
be eating like a lamb chop.
I mean, I thought he would at least get some like chocolate covered scorpions or something.
Actually, this is also still Dracula telling him how his powers work. Actually, you can't have them covered in chocolate because it makes you less powerful. Actually, just completely bullshitting him.
Yeah. Right.
But the supporting cast I thought was really fun. They got a great cast. Awkwafina makes a very fun sidekick kind of character. I liked her in Shang-Chi. Ben Schwartz as the shitty fail son. Incredible. Just
I
a
always like
douche
him.
that's bad at everything.
He's so good at it though. I
know.
like he's so good at just being an ass.
The lady that plays Bella Francesca, I like her. She does a good job seeming like you know,
Like a bad bitch in control.
Right. Well, it can kind of, I imagine it's tough making like a mob boss type villain seem scary in a movie with a Dracula. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
I think that she was
she's
hard
like
fucking Dracula.
She's
She was
arguably
fucking him.
scarier.
Yeah.
She has a
well,
more
it's-
intimidating presence, I think.
Well, the thing is, she looks at Dracula and she's not like
She's
at
like,
all,
I could
like,
fix him.
Not even that. Just like, yeah, I could destroy him.
Dude,
too.
she pegs him for sure.
She made him the fucking what is it? What's the term for someone who likes
He's
fucking
She made him her bottom.
the bottom? Yeah.
Yeah. I have no evidence or basis for that. I just know it to be true.
What if it was literally like Bella and fucking Edward, except they got divorced and started like a crime thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's how they did it.
I want Twilight, but it's Nicolas Cage Dracula and Bella Francesca. By the way, we've done a lot of vampire movies.
Yeah.
Abraham
I don't
Lincoln
know.
Vampire Hunter,
Vampire Slayer,
Daybreakers, this,
Hunter.
all of Twilight.
Yeah, fuck it. You know what? I'm just emo. That's what it is.
I think if there is any like genre that takes up a plurality of our movie demographics, of our movie genres, it's fucking vampire shit.
Right. Vampires.
I love us for that.
Yeah, it's great. It works well. The vampires, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the world and the atmosphere and everything. Like it feels like fun and like cartoonish in a way.
Well, I really like how they established that the police are actually corrupt. It's not like
Right. Well, that's
they are fighting side by side with the cartels. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like how like during Prohibition, like they tried to make it out like the mob was like, it's the coppers, shoot them. But like in reality, at least from what I've heard, what was really going on was like mobsters were like, oh yeah, we love the police. Fucking love them. Yeah, give them free product. Give them free alcohol.
And then they can go beat their wives.
Because they enforce our rules. They get rid of our enemies and shit. They work with us. We pay them money. But no, that's kind of one of the things that plays into how cartoony the world is. Like, not only the Dracula stuff, not just that, not just the guy having to eat bugs to get his powers, but also just how cartoonishly corrupt the police are in this.
Right.
It's almost refreshing. You know what I mean? Other corruption stories are a bit more subtle, and it's like, hey, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. You gotta, learn to play ball, kid. But they're just kind of out and about with it. Like Awkwafina is like, hey, I got evidence of this guy doing crimes and holding drugs while doing crimes and speeding and killed a guy. So guess we'll prosecute him, right? And then the police chief is like, Awkwafina, no, you don't get it. We are corrupt.
Well, what really got me was when they were gaslighting her. Like, listen, I know your dad. I know what happened with your dad, but this isn't a reason. We killed him because
we're corrupt.
Right. And it's like, no, he shot at us and threw cocaine at us. Like, I tested it. It's cocaine.
Yeah. He's pretty bad at being a mobster.
Right. I mean,
he doesn't even attempt to conceal just how in bed with each other they are.
He could at least say sorry.
Yeah. Just plays into how much of an idiot fail son he is.
Right. And the mom's just you're lucky I have this owned and operated.
She's like, I am this close to putting you down.
I'm so close to making the legislature pass postnatal abortion.
I am this close to just fucking throwing you off a cliff, dude. Like, be normal. Be normal for 2 seconds. Don't make my job harder.
Gangster normal.
Be gangster normal. Do drugs.
Do drugs. Kill a man. Fucking
sell drugs. Sell drugs to children.
Don't do taxes.
Yeah. Do drugs. Don't do taxes.
Do drugs, not taxes.
Anyway, I would say best movie ever.
I would say, out of all the movies, this is definitely.
Look, for sure. I mean, look, I might get a bit of flack for this, but I would say, for sure. Some people might not think so, but
some people may disagree with this opinion, but when it comes to and so when you see it, it's just, it's so
look,
good.
I think what you're trying to say is, look, I'm trying not to be too strong on it because I don't want to come off as biased or anything. But I think what you're trying to say is definitely for sure.
And I would say when it comes to
I'm leaning towards
matters with positive intonations, I would say definitely perhaps.
So anyway, I think this is the third episode in a row that it's your turn.
Literally, the podcast is we review movies.
I don't know what the podcast is.
What is this?
I don't know what it. It is what it is, and if you don't like it, up yours, woke moralists.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then if you don't like it,
what rules, you sons of bitches?
And
I dreamed I saw my maternal grandmother sitting by the.
That was just for fun.
I think this is the third time in a row that it's your turn to pick next week's movie.
Oh, and I had one too. Let's watch Twilight again.
See, we the thing is, Gavin.
Yeah,
we already watched that.
Ah, shit.
If you can't come up with anything, we can watch Young Indiana Jones and the adventure of how he learned how to play jazz with famous jazz musicians in 1920.
Dad, do you still want me to get that jazz musician at your birthday? Fucking, oh God, all the jazz musicians that I've known of. out the window. I forgot all
Duke
of them.
Ellington.
Duke Ellington, that Armstrong guy.
Yeah, that Armstrong.
The one that
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, the famous jazz musician
Yeah.
and singer.
Yeah.
Remember, he said, "I see trees of green.
Yeah.
I landed on the moon."
All right, is that what we've decided on? Young Indiana Jones
let's-
learns how to play jazz and solves a murder.
Let me think here. Let me see. Hang on. Give me just a second to, because I know I've seen some movies. I'm like, oh, that would be good on the podcast. Let me pull up HBO real quick and see what else we got. You know what, Alex?
By the way, it's not
This is-
HBO anymore. Okay, it's Max. Just
they
Max.
split?
No, it's
Did
not
they
split or anything. It's the same fucking app, but worse and with a shittier name.
Why?
I don't get it. It's just a worse name. I get they're trying to like distance themselves from just the HBO branding, because I guess some market research they did came to the conclusion that some people associate it with like adult content. But it's such a recognizable name at this point, and it just means quality. Like, you see HBO and you think, oh, that's
Yeah.
a good
Oh,
thing.
this is good
At
shit.
least there was some production value put into this. Even if it's not something that I personally like, it's prestige television. Now it's
Right.
just Max. And like, I could easily see like a normie that doesn't know anything being like, what, like IMAX? That this is the same
Right.
thing? Are those related items? Where's all the HBO stuff? I don't want Max. I want HBO. Just shooting themselves in the foot. Anyway, have you
I
come up with
know.
anything? Right, I will give you until the end of this sound pad to come up with something, or else it's Young Indiana Jones and the Adventure of Jazz and learning how to play an instrument.
Shit. I really don't want to. Let's watch Let's watch All Quiet on the Western Front.
The fuck is that? All Quiet on the Western Front, 2022. It's a war movie. War breaks out in Germany in 1914. Oh, it's not even the interesting World War. Paul Brommer and his classmates quickly enlist in the army to serve their fatherland. No sooner are they drafted than the first images from the battlefield show them the reality of war.
And there's
Oh,
no
it has
silver
Daniel Bruhl
lining.
in it.
There's no silver lining.
The guy that played the purple face
You know
guy,
what?
Baron
Fuck it.
Zemo.
No, actually, let's not watch that. Let's watch Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. All right. I got that written down. Next week, Galaxy Quest. All right, watch it. We're gonna spoil it. You've been warned. All right. Anyway, you want to get to recommendations of the week?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's
Add anything.
recommend.
Add anything if you have it. First of all, The World According to Jeff Goldblum. I have been raving about that show ever since it came out. I watched it high as balls with my roommate last night, and we loved it. Basically, the premise is this like space alien comes to Earth, and he knows nothing about humanity, and he learns about humanity one niche topic at a time.
Did they start with Jurassic Park?
No. I say space alien. I should be more specific. Jeff Goldblum learns little bits and pieces about humanity through exploring different topics. So like my roommate and I watched the one that he did on coffee and the one he did on bicycles last night. Like each episode is like a different topic, you know, something along those lines. Like he did one on coffee and exploring like, you know, the history of it and how different demographics have it in different ways. And just, it seems really boring just hearing about it. But trust me, Jeff Goldblum is such a great like host and presenter. Not explainer. He's a great question asker. And he's just a great presence to have.
Does he say, is he like life?
He does a lot of like jazz,
will-
like skit, like scat stuff.
Wait, let me say it. Does he look at them?
What's coffee all about?
No, is he like, they're like, yeah, we spray this with pesticides to keep all the pests out. And he goes, life will find a way.
No, he doesn't play his character from Jurassic Park. No, everything that you tell him, he reacts like it's his first time ever hearing about it.
That's what I love about him.
I love him so much.
Also, he could seriously pass for gay, but he's not. He's just flamboyant, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of got that Prince kind of thing going on.
Yeah, he's just like, I like dressing like I dress, and if you have an issue with that, I'm Jeff Goldblum. Go fuck yourself.
Right. No, it's just a great show. It might already be off Disney Plus. I was going to say they're taking it off of Disney Plus, so watch it while you still can. If it's still up, go watch it. If not, I can't condone piracy, so I guess there's no way to watch it.
I'm sure you have a torrent of questions.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a torrent of questions. There's VPN, very probably no way to watch it. Steal it. Fucking steal it.
Fucking steal
There's
it.
2 seasons out. Every episode is wonderful because Jeff Goldblum is a treasure on this planet.
Well, fucking steal it is what I would say if I was a criminal.
I was playing a character that likes piracy. I personally hate it. And I would never do anything like that.
You know, I am a man of the American way, and man, stealing things from people, man,
having
America's never...
Disney make slightly less profit. I pay for the service. You know, I should be allowed to steal things that they don't want to put on the service.
Right.
If I pay for Disney Plus and they decide to take away Jeff Goldblum from me, I should be legally allowed to steal that show.
You know, it's funny. So I got a better thing, better than Disney Plus. It's called Disney Multiplication, and
I got a thing that's way better than Disney Plus. Way better value for money. NordVPN.
You know, and the more I hear about this too, like I
gotta
don't
say,
use a VPN ever, and now I'm like more aware that I'm literally raw dogging the internet right now.
Oh, for sure. No, it's so great. It's such a great thing to have. I will say the one bad thing about VPNs is that they make piracy just too easy. Like, it really hurts companies. Home taping is killing the music industry.
Yeah, man, those millennials aren't buying diamonds anymore.
I just think it's ridiculous how easy they make piracy nowadays. It's ridiculous.
Come on, we need a...
Like, it is so, I cannot stress this enough, effortless and easy to steal content on the internet.
And it's
they gotta plug these holes.
It is such a big problem that they've just stopped trying to stop it, you know? And
no, they haven't. You'll still get in trouble if you pirate stuff without a VPN. You'll get an angry letter from your ISP. But the thing is, VPNs have just served as a way to get around that. And I think it's so harmful to these businesses. It's harmful to commerce. How easy to make piracy. Anyway, watch The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Anyway.
Watch Young Sheldon. It's funny. It's
okay, look. People don't they expect so little from Young Sheldon, and I think that's so funny because then they see like clips of it and they're like, "Oh fuck, it's actually good."
Yeah, it's actually like a really good show.
I remember when it came out, I like watched it because I was like, "There's no way it's good." Then it was like actually like compelling and entertaining, and the characters were good. I like the grandma; she's kind of gilfy, and like it's still going. I think they're on like their last season. Young Sheldon is like 16. He is no longer young Sheldon. Still dresses the same. I think that's hilarious.
Wait, how long have they been shooting this show? Like
a decade. Hold on.
No.
It's been going on since. By the way, watch it on HBO Max. It's on there. Or I guess it's on Paramount Plus. Cool.
Don't you mean HBO, Alex? Sorry, don't you mean just Max?
Sorry, yeah, Max. Yeah.
I don't know. What is this HBO Max you speak of?
Oh, there's there's 6 seasons. It started in 2017. Oh, so yeah, not terribly not too
old.
long ago.
But kids grow up really quickly, and I've been seeing clips on YouTube Shorts of Young Sheldon.
Yeah,
and
they develop the characters like outside of Sheldon, also.
Right,
like, they're good characters.
For sure. And I was gonna say something. Yeah, there's a clip from there that I just really like where Sheldon's brother, fucking, I forget his, Georgie. Georgie's like, I hear they're letting us sell our organs. I'm rich. I'm gonna sell all my organs. And the dad's just like, yeah, sell your brain. You're not using it.
Yeah.
And then little boy Sheldon laughs and he's like, and then the dad looks at him and he's just like, that's the first time I've heard you laugh. And Sheldon goes, that's the first time I've thought you were funny.
I love it. Look. Look, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but it is such a good show for what it is. I will say.
Yeah.
What I like most and what tickles me the most about it is it started as a Big Bang Theory spinoff.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, probably around episode 2, they just stopped caring that it was a Big Bang prequel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sheldon has character development, like the first episode, you're like, okay, I could see this kid, being Sheldon from episode 1 of the Big Bang Theory.
Right.
But like, by the time you get further in, like, they develop his character to the point where if he was to become Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, he would have regressed. And
yeah, I would.
And
see
I'm
that.
so glad that they don't let that get in the way of just writing a good show.
Right. Yeah. I just think, especially with like Georgie, I like his character arc of like, he has a kid, he marries his baby mama, and that whole thing happens.
The girl from Hannah Montana, by the way.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that. Like, also, these are actors and actresses that we grew up with.
Yeah,
and so we're so happy. Like, I'm happy.
I hope
to
her
see
life isn't
Hannah
too
Montana's
fucked up, having been a Disney child actor.
Well,
glad she's still getting work.
I hope so too. But like, Miley Cyrus is doing her thing with whatever controversy that comes with, and I'm just so happy to see that like this co-star that from Hannah Montana is a part of a really great show now.
Yeah,
I'm just really happy to see that like she's able to exercise her acting muscle.
Yeah,
in a way that's still like really great.
It's good to see. You love to see it.
I was gonna say something else. Yeah, I just think what would be a really great like sequel to the Big Bang Theory would be like Sheldon's niece. Old Sheldon, but like Sheldon's niece trying to like get through academia, because I guess like I imagine his niece having the gift too.
Oh yeah. When you said Sheldon's niece, I was like, did he have a niece in the Big Bang Theory? And then I remembered, no, it's in the show that we're talking about.
Yeah,
the daughter
Georgie has
of the
kid.
Character we were just talking about.
Yeah, Georgie has a kid, and Sheldon becomes an uncle. And
see what I mean? It's so
never
far removed from the
niece.
Big Bang Theory.
I know, but
and that's not a bad thing. I am not saying that as a negative. If anything, it's a positive.
I just like the idea of like Georgie, this kid who is supposed to be just an idiot bum from like Texas, right? He becomes a very successful like tire salesman, and he has this genius brother, and then he has a kid who has the same like genius whatever, right? And he's like, you need to go talk to your uncle Sheldon.
Yeah.
And then like, Sheldon, you're the, especially because him and his brother were so adversarial in their dealings later on in life. I think it would be great to be like Sheldon finally being able to help his brother when his brother has helped Sheldon his entire life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be nice. Yeah. Yeah. If the niece is like Sheldon in that she's like super smart, but also like very heavily autistic coded, if Sheldon can be the one that like relates to her and like, helps her develop, personally, yeah, that'd be fun to watch. You know what I miss in
and
TV?
you could also get like the whole gang in on it too, like Leonard and Ruth Polly. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. No, what I miss about TV from like the 70s is just how many spin-offs they did. And like you could just like chart like a web of like this show spins off from this show, and this show spins off from it. And this show is a spin-off from these two. They don't do it like that anymore. They don't do like the MCU, yeah, whatever. The sitcom cinematic universe, incredibly in depth, incredibly extensive. And they keep to the lore pretty well.
Yeah. Like it's all there. That's the thing. Like it's all they know all the episodes.
They don't contradict it a lot, at least from what I've seen.
At least a good screenwriter won't.
Right. Yeah, no, like I wish they would still do that and just make like an entire Big Bang Theory cinematic universe.
Right.
Just for shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, watch Young Sheldon. It's shockingly good. Actually, my roommate started watching it. Like he's a Young Sheldon head now.
It's weird. I love shows that like we all are like, oh, this is gonna be a dumb show, and then it turns out to be great, like Bob's Burgers and Lego Ninjago.
Right.
Do you remember Lego Ninjago?
Yeah, I caught it a little bit. I wasn't a Ninjago kid. I think it came out around when I was like, kid shows suck. I don't watch kid shows. I'm grown up. I'm 10.
I'm 13. I'm pretty sure I know what the world's like.
Basically an adult. I'm 11 years old
by now. I'm not like other kids.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I know the world's messed up.
Yeah. I like how everyone's been making fun of The Good Doctor also. Complete polar opposite of the reaction to Young Sheldon, where with Young Sheldon everyone was like, "Oh, this show is actually good." People have been dogging on The Good Doctor and being like, "Oh, this show sucks." Do you know that? Do you know The Good Doctor?
I thought the like first 3 seasons were good.
I think I might have seen like the pilot, and even then I was like half paying attention. It's kind of like House, but completely different. No, it's this similar concept because it's like, you know, this doctor who's like special is working with a bunch of normal doctors, and they're like, I don't get you, and then he like cures cancer or whatever. You know, that's every episode of House. I think that's the premise for The Good Doctor. There's one episode of The Good
Doctor where you can't grasp the concept of transgendered people.
That's the one that like has been popping off. That one has Dr. Han.
It's like, well, and I can kind of understand it in the sense that like maybe there's that social aspect that he doesn't understand, that though this person is a transgendered individual, you should call them by the pronouns they prefer.
Right.
And treat them as the gender that they prefer to be treated as.
Yeah. Well, the problem just in general with The Good Doctor and like the character of The Good Doctor, I don't know his name, but the whole like reason that people are like upset or like, you know, like the whole reason that people are making fun of it is because they're trying to write an autistic character, like an explicitly autistic character, while having no idea what autism is.
Right.
They're like, autism, it's that thing, you know, where you have superpowers and you're really smart.
You know, where you can count toothpicks really fast, that thing.
Yeah. They think that like whenever like network television writers try to write autism, first of all, they never bring in autistic writers. They never bring in autistic actors. They never have anyone that actually has autism involved in the process. Right. So they're just like speculating based on like what they saw in school, you know, what like the autistic kid, quote unquote, acted like, and just being like, it's that, right? And they're really smart and they have superpowers and they can see through walls and they can talk to horses, right? And so it just they write this ridiculous caricature, this like insulting caricature of like how autistic people act. Right. And that's how you get, you know, like, I am a surgeon. I am a surgeon.
Jesus Christ.
And like they think autism is just when you're really smart and you have meltdowns. They think autism is when you act like you're 4 years old in your mid-30s.
Right.
When first of all, it's a spectrum. And second of all, that's just not how it fucking works.
Was it The Good Doctor where, because I remember seeing a show, I think it was The Good Doctor, where he has like an episode like on a bus.
I don't know.
Something.
All I really know is I am a surgeon. That's like all that I really know about it. Oh, there's also another clip that I saw where he's like in a convenience store that's being robbed, and the guy is like, "Put your hands up and get on the ground," or whatever. And he's like, "No, no,
I will not.
I don't wanna." And it's just, who do you know that is like this? Who did you consult for this character?
I don't know, man. I don't know. The only time I've appreciated people being like, "Oh, we're making this character one thing," is when they made Spock dyslexic in Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. That's just
Yeah,
a
and I was
cool
like-
added detail.
Right. And I was like, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah. Well, like I remember, I could be way off base on this, but I remember like seeing someone like analyze Spock through like a lens of like like thinking like, oh, he might be on the spectrum, and it like made a lot of sense. And I much prefer stuff like that over writing an autistic character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like The Good Doctor is what happens when you get a network TV writer to write an autistic character.
Right.
But like it's you get a way better result when you write a character that has traits. You know, every person has different traits, and if you write a character with a set of traits that could be read as autistic, it's better representation and it's more accurate representation.
Right. Well, and I hate to change the topic to Star Trek,
and I would love it if they wrote Spock like, I can't read the board because I'm dyslexic.
That's it, yeah.
And they just made that his entire character.
Well, the thing I really liked about them
live,
making
and
Spock
longer.
dyslexic.
I don't know what the saying is because I can't read.
What's the deal? Wait, what's the why can't never mind. I try to make a joke about airplane food, but I try to anyway.
What's Spock's like title? Like what is he on the starship?
So in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, he's the science officer, and then
I am a science officer.
Well, here's the thing.
I am a surgeon.
So because Spock was half human, in Vulcan society, he was kind of shunned because they were like, they were secretly racist. But I one thing I really liked about them making Spock dyslexic is that the shame that he exemplifies in him being like half human is it's a good mirror of the shame it feels of like when you're dyslexic and you're being told to read something on the board and you can't.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same feeling. And when I saw them make Spock dyslexic and not only make him dyslexic, but like he's shameful of it because the Vulcan the medical people were like, yeah, you got that from the human side. You got that one big flaw from the human side. It was definitely the human side.
Yeah, and it's like, fuck you.
It's like,
he's not allowed to have
dude.
flaws, or else it's like part of his genetics.
But then it turned out that like something temporal happened with time or whatever, and because he had dyslexia, he was able to visualize it better than anyone else on the ship could, and it ended up saving everyone on the ship.
That reminds me of like the autistic reading of Spock. Like that kind of like brought some of the details back.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, like I don't think it's that Spock doesn't understand social stuff. I think it's that he is shameful that he can somewhat grasp it.
Yeah.
Whereas Vulcans are just totally like, why are you guys crying?
Yeah. Well, like
it doesn't do anything.
A big misunderstanding of autism is that like people think that like you just don't understand like social stuff, and like there are instances where like a person like doesn't, and it's part of the thing, whatever. But again, it's a spectrum. A lot of the time it's not that you don't understand like human emotion, right? It's just you express it differently and whatever. But like part of what I remember from like the analysis of Spock from like an autistic lens is like you said, he grew up having to like mask his emotions suppresses emotions for the sake of like making other people comfortable. And that's what a lot of autistic people go through. They're sort of forced to learn how to mask, and then they mask too much in some cases, and it makes people think that they're like cold and emotionless. So just like Spock, they're kind of trapped in this in-between where they feel like they can't express themselves, but their lack of expressing themselves alienates them from other people.
Well, also, and I completely agree with that. But one other point I like about the fact that they like making Spock dyslexic and everything is that in his shame he projects onto other people, and you can see that in the original series where like Captain Kirk is like, oh, we're going for rest and recreation on this planet, and he goes, well, in Vulcan society, we just meditate, and it's so much better than what humans do with this rest and recreation. And
Cope and
it's
seethe.
like you are projecting.
Yeah.
You are, in fact, projecting, and you should accept the part of yourself that is human that might take at least a modicum of interest in rest and recreation.
Yeah.
And like one scene, okay, and I'll stop geeking out about this after this last bit thing, but at the end, I think of The Search for Spock, which is after Wrath of Khan. At the end of that movie, he meets up with his father, and if you don't know, the reason Spock and his father didn't get along that well was because Spock's dad wanted him to go to the Vulcan Science Academy, and Spock refused
Spock
to join.
Wanted to go to art school.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
He refused and instead went to Starfleet, which his parents considered a military organization. So they're like, why are you joining the military? Vulcans spent centuries trying to get away from their like violent side. And at the end of this movie, Sarek, which is Spock's dad, was like, I remember when I said that you shouldn't join Starfleet and that's a military organization, but now that I see your colleagues, they're of good character, and maybe I was wrong, and maybe this is a good thing that you're a part of and is actually a better path than would have been taken if you joined the Vulcan Science Academy. And
that's
it's
good.
Like,
that's good development. And
even though Spock masks like a lot, he's at like in this movie at least a point in his life where he's kind of come to a lot of terms with like who he is and what he is.
Yeah.
But you can see that there's like a certain amount of satisfaction that he feels, but also an immense amount of like relief. Finally, that this one cloud that was above his head of his father not accepting him is finally like, okay, now he at least understands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good development.
I like that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Star Trek is just good. We should watch more of it.
It's just good. Yeah. And yeah. I would argue too the Alien franchise is like basically the opposite of what Star Trek endeavors to be.
Yeah. It's like actually capitalism is really cool and we should do it in space.
Right.
Also monsters.
So yeah, I like Star Trek. Thank you for listening to Talk.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. My other recommendations: new Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Play it; it's really good. Other people have said way more than I have time for, and they've said it better than I could in this moment. It's just fun. Go play it. It's great.
It's just fun to go play it. I don't care.
It's fun. Fucking buy it. It's worth the money. If you're like, ooh, but is it worth $70? It's worth more.
Play the game, make some money, fuck some bitches, get some video games.
It's just good. It's worth the money. It's great. Yeah, it's the kind of game that you buy a Switch for. Right. That and Breath of the Wild. But yeah.
And Mario Kart.
But yeah, this one isn't so much of a recommendation as it is just me showing off a cool thing that I found. But let's see if I lift up my microphone arm. You can see in the background there, my dumpster TV. Found an old box TV, old CRT by the dumpster. Someone was throwing it out. And I was like, that thing looks dirty and it probably doesn't work. But I'll bring it inside anyway. I'll plug it in, see if it turns on. And it did. And so I cleaned it up and I, plugged some stuff into it, tested it out. And it's actually really good for a TV I just found by the dumpster. Like the picture looks great. The sound is great, obviously. these old box TVs just measurably sounded way better than like a flat screen now, because they could actually fit a proper speaker in there.
Fucking hipster.
No, like it's actually like real. Like they could fit just an actual like fucking speaker driver in there.
Like a whole like fucking speaker. Wow.
Yeah, that's it. But like now, you know what I mean? The modern TVs, like if you are just playing it through the TV, like it sounds like tinny. It sounds just kind of shitty. Like you're expected to plug it into a sound bar. You're expected to use something else for the audio.
I hate to say this. You know who kind of started that trend?
What?
Steve Jobs. Because he was making the one of the for back then it was going to be the new Mac, and the engineers were like, okay, we have two models, one with speakers and one with front facing speakers and one with rear facing speakers, which are lower quality.
Yeah, that's what's in the TVs now. They're rear facing also.
Right. And so like the one with the good speakers had these holes in the front for the sound to get through. And so they're showing Steve Jobs this, and they're like, you can choose, this one that has the speakers going at the back, but it's whatever. But this one with the speakers in the front, that's the good one. And Steve Jobs like, yeah, I want the speakers in the back. And they're like, why?
We used to be a proper country.
Well, he was like, I want the speakers in the back, the one with the shitty speakers. And they're like, why? Why do you want this? And he's like, the people who want good audio will buy speakers that are
They'll buy
good.
Our speakers that we sell separately.
Right. And have like three dongles.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like I really like old TVs for the fact that you don't need to use any external audio or anything. Like they just sound great just as is. Because they're already like 3 feet thick. It's really nothing to put a proper speaker in there.
Wow, it's just like my cock.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. But yeah, if you have like old consoles and you're like, why does this look shitty on my 4K flat screen? It's because they don't know what the fuck to do with an analog output. They don't know what to do with that signal. So they just kind of like sort of upscale it, do something with it, and it just looks horrible. It looks way better on a CRT. Like that's what it's meant for. It like the scan lines and everything, like it smooths out the image and stuff. I think Technology Connections has done a number of videos along these lines, like what I'm explaining. So go check out Technology Connections if you want to like learn the how, the what, and the why with all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
I want to know the where.
It's right over there, right behind me.
Oh,
and it's actually in frame. Yeah, right over there.
I was trying to be a stickler.
About 7 feet over there. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, if you find a dumpster TV, as long as it's not like outwardly broken, you know, if you have like an old console,
just like my heart.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to do that.
VCR, anything like that, anything with an analog output, and you're like, I want to play this retro style. Find a dumpster TV, fucking test it out. The worst thing that could happen is you just have to take it back to the dumpster.
Right.
Yeah. But dude, that thing was dirty. Like the wipes, like I used some like toilet paper or not toilet, paper towel and some like cleaner on it. And like, it looked like you wiped your ass. Like that's what it looked like when I was done cleaning it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have, I'll do one more before we get out of here. This is more self-promo than anything, but I will be back at the Blind Pig in Ann Arbor on June 26th, and I will be in East Lansing at the Beggars Can't Be Choosers comedy show on the 27th. Again, that's in East Lansing at Beggars Banquet. Go to those. I believe those are Blind Pig is free. Beggars, I think, is like $5. So if you're in either of those areas, go to that. And if the show is good enough, I'll put it on the podcast feed. If not, I might put it on Patreon as like a little extra thing. If you just, I don't know, if you fucking wanna listen to it. I was at the Blind Pig this past month, and it was good. And I put that up on the podcast feed. So listen to that if you haven't, and tell me that I'm pretty and good and awesome. Fuel my ego. In short.
Alex?
Yeah.
You're pretty kind and awesome.
Thank you. I just came.
But actually, though, I want to mention that I do think you are beyond just being funny. I feel like you have your own brand of funny that is uniquely yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just like I see a lot of comedians in like YouTube Shorts, and it's like, yeah, these could all be the same generic dude, like talking about, oh, my dick fell off. Oh. But I feel like you just have a way about you that's just
I am
inherently
masturbating
funny.
to completion right now to your words.
That's good. Yeah. And you're just a funny guy. What can I say?
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I try to make it like more like personal and unique. Like I don't want to say stuff that just fucking anyone could say. Like anyone can talk about Tinder, but I like to think that I take it in a direction that is, a bit off the beaten path.
Right.
You don't want to, you want to use like the common thing as a springboard. You don't want to just do like your dating joke. Like if it relates to dating, just use that as a springboard to talk about whatever unique perspective that you have or whatever unique story you have.
Exactly.
But yeah.
And don't forget to, fuck some bitches,
Yeah. Also, I was at the Detroit House of Comedy a couple weeks
but also
ago.
respect women.
Yeah. For Tune Up Tuesday, which is like their open mic. I did 3 minutes there and it was fun. It was good. Made a couple friends there. It was fun.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I signed up for next week, next Tuesday, the 13th. So I may or may not be back at the Detroit House of Comedy on June 13th. I won't know until tomorrow. But if I am, I'll put it somewhere. Follow my social media. Follow my Instagram. I put pictures of the TV up on there if you're curious.
But what if you don't follow me?
Don't follow Gavin. But anyway, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I think that's the show.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of What Have You to Say. If you liked it, then like it. If you comment, then it better be nice and subscribe, or else I will cry. And follow me on social media. Follow my TikTok. I have not uploaded to TikTok in like 5 years. Follow my Instagram. Friend me on Facebook. I'm back on Facebook begrudgingly because other comedians use it, and I gotta like stay in touch with stuff. But I hate Facebook. I hate the ads I get on Facebook. They're so trash. It's just a worse platform.
Oof.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. I don't really tweet stuff. I just retweet stuff that I like. But I guess do that. Or don't if it's like a Nazi safe haven by the time this comes out. It very much might. It already kind of is, but it might be more of that by the time this comes out. In that case, don't ever use Twitter ever again. Or whatever. You know what? Be an expense.
Use due diligence.
Be an expense for the Twitter platform.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't draw in more users. Just be another thing that they have to maintain. Just like Gavin with his derelict Instagram account.
Yeah, it's just I like the fact I fall asleep knowing that Instagram is spending good money to keep that.
You take up server space.
I take up server space, and it's great.
As a server owner, space is very important to me. I need to upgrade Jonathan. I have like hit the upper limits for how much I can throw on there. So just know that you are doing that to Meta. You're personally doing that to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Anyway, I have a good 9 a.m. through 9 p.m. our official business hours, blah, blah, blah. Let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah. I have a huge dick.